Good evening. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. Please note that the opinions voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network nor our sponsors. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Reaching all the way back to 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition. Here is your host of Fate Radio, Kat Hobson. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Hello there. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am looking forward to a fantastic show. I know that we're going to have loads of listeners because I've been seeing the sharing that has been going on with this event, and thank y'all so much for that. We have two chats open at this moment. One is in the Spreaker app. If you're listening to us on your mobile, that's going to be the best place for you to go chat. I believe that if you try to use the other chat, you will lose your sound. Spreaker has not fully explained that, but there you go. That's what I have found. We are also live with chat at wbhm-db.com and fatemag.net. So you can chat in all of those places. They're all free. I know there's going to be a lot of questions for Pari, so just bring them in. We are here to answer questions and to learn, and we welcome everyone. Pari Patel, I got that right, and then I just blew it. But Pari Patri is a encouraging person. She is a motivational person. She is someone that I have found to be just a wonderful motivator. And good thing for her, that's her business. So you can find her on so many places. CosmicReset.com. That is https://CosmicReset.com. You can find her on Pari Patri, PARIPATRI.com. And you can find a lot of information about what she does and where she comes from on www.pssmovement.org. And there is so much information out there. Pari is a women's empowerment coach. She's an entrepreneur, as evidenced by the things we were just speaking of. She's a spiritual healer. She's been a meditation teacher for over 25 years. She was born in India. She is the daughter of spiritual leader Brahmarshi Subhash Patri, the founder of the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement. And she has been teaching and practicing meditation since she was 2 and teaching since she was 5. So she's had the opportunity to learn from so many masters and gurus and teachers from everywhere, all over the world. And she has devoted pretty much her life to learning about pyramid power and spiritual science. I was not familiar with pyramid power until fairly recently, maybe a couple of years ago. And I have to thank the people who do Contact in the Desert for bringing that information to their to their vendor area. It was a great thing, but not nearly as great as having a chance to speak directly with you. Hi, Pari.
Hey, Kat. Hi. Thank you for such a great introduction.
Oh, all thanks. Yeah, that's one thing with fate. Our stories are strange sometimes, but always true. So, just as you, I am really looking forward to this conversation. I have planned for this and studied this in anticipation of getting the chance to speak with you.
And it's a pleasure. I'm going to say that it's pleasure is all mine, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I like what you do. So thank you. You have actually been meditating since you were 2? Pari? Pari?
Yes, sorry.
You are.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
okay.
Here.
I just said you've actually been meditating since you were 2?
Yes, yes. Most people don't believe that, but yeah, I was meditating since I was. Yeah, that was the first thing that I've learned, and in fact, it's now very common. Back in it's in the organization, my father's organization, which is the Pyramid Spiritual Society movement, where kids meditate since they are born, since they're a child. So it's a very common thing. It's not that I'm something special or great, but it's the environment which I grew up taught me that.
I think that's brilliant. So was that common just in your family and household, or was that common throughout India? Is that something that is actually done there?
Well, no, I wouldn't say it's common in India. At least in the age that I was, I was born and grew up in that time and era. It is something where in my own family, not even in my extended family. My father, he was an ordinary man. He used to go to work, and he has 2 children. That's me and my sister. And my whole family, in fact, is very very educated oriented, like they want to be doctors or engineers. And that's the lifestyle expected from everybody. But my father was somebody who was always different. And he decided one day that he wanted to spread meditation or teach meditation to the whole world, where our whole extended family, his brothers, sisters, everybody thought he was crazy. And they...
That happens.
Yeah, I mean, they really, they were angry. In fact, not just thinking that, they were angry that he was doing this. They got scared that he was going to go leave everything and go into Himalayas and, meditate or something. But he was determined. He knew that was his purpose. He was persistent, and he left his job. He quit his job. And he started teaching meditation, and that's when I was born. He quit when I was 8 years old. So in those 8 years, I saw him teaching about meditation to one and all. I grew up in those conversations at home, dinners. That was my environment, everyday environment.
That's fascinating because it's so transitional. And it's hard to imagine a 2-year-old focusing to the point of being able to have the full experience. That's pretty neat and unusual.
Yes. Now, if I think about it, it's pretty... Yeah, it sounds unusual when I talk about it to my husband, because he came from a very traditional family, very... like in any other family who just knows about religion, all that stuff. But for me to talk about, I used to wake up in the nights. I remember this. Maybe I was 4 or 5 years old. My mother used to meditate all night. She was She was a very core meditator. She used to meditate so many hours, and I saw her doing things. I saw her talking about astral traveling or past lives or masters coming into our house. I mean, astrally, and giving messages. And these were discussed in every day. For me, it sounded like it was something that pretty normal. Like, okay, this happens. There's nothing crazy about it. And even if many children, in fact, see people, see things, and they're not, they're afraid to talk about it to their parents, because even though if you tell your parents, sometimes they don't believe it. And for me, it was pretty natural. If I talk about, hey, I saw some man, astrally, then they would encourage me to talk more about it, to share my experience. So it was pretty different, yeah.
Definitely. Well, so you were 8 when you moved to the U.S.?
No. I grew up. I did my bachelor's in India.
Okay.
Yeah, I came here when I was 22.
22. Okay. Mm. For some reason, in the course of that conversation, I thought that you had said 8 when y'all relocated.
No, that was when he quit his job, and the first pyramid was built in India.
I think that's the most amazing part. Your dad, I mean, seriously, your dad just kind of stepped out of the box, made his own dynamic decisions, and took the family with him into that. And a whole movement was born because he trusted his guidance so much. That's beautiful. Yes. So many people would have such trouble with that.
Yes, yeah, it's I think he's very strong-willed in that way, and and now that I see his journey, the way he started from just not from nobody believing in him, not even his own family, friends, none, to now millions of people are following him. The success story, he has very specific steps that he followed, and now I realize that. And I try to follow those steps, to which, I'm happy to share them. But it is an incredible story to talk about him, like how he started. I remember the only motivation, the only inspiration he had was if somebody meditated before him and shared their experience. He would wait hours. I remember going with him and sitting in somebody's office because that person said, he has like a half an hour or 20 minutes to meet my father and talk about meditation. So he took me there, and I remember waiting outside his office, and my father would be just wherever he waits, he has a book with him all the time. So he would be just reading books. He wouldn't even 1 second have any conversations or short talks. All he would be doing is reading books. So I remember him waiting morning till evening for this person to come out and talk about meditation so he can learn. And all this is for free. He's not getting anything out of it. And he teaches meditation, and this guy now meditates, and he's waiting eagerly to listen to him about what happened. And that just blows my mind when I think about it right now. And that's how his journey started. He would go to house, anywhere he's called. He would feed people. He would say, hey, you know what, if Kat is there, hey, Kat, come home. You know what, there's dinner for you. And they would feed people and teach about meditation. That's how it all started. So my house was literally an open house. There's no exaggeration. I would sit at home, and if I don't see a random stranger in my house, I would be like, something is wrong. When I come back from school, there's nobody stranger, because anytime I come home, there's somebody eating food and talking about meditation. So it's and to this day, it is that way. And that's when, so I grew up, seeing this. But when I became a teenager, I didn't like it so much.
Right. That
wanted
transition again.
yeah, I wanted my privacy. I wanted to, I don't want to see any people. I don't want to talk about meditation. I just wanted my own room. So that was a time that I kind of shifted into my own thing. So that's where my transition starts from this whole world that I grew up.
Well, and that's about when most people transition away from what they are being taught in the home.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything that makes you different or stand out,
Mm-hmm.
which as you get to be an adult, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
But when you are adolescent and you're dealing with schoolmates and all the things of that nature, then it does matter tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that. How did he react when you started kind of turning your back on that?
Well, he's a man, like he never stopped us, like me or my sister, he never stopped us doing anything. He never said, you need to do this, you need to do that. He always, that was one thing, he always gave us freedom to choose what we want. All I need to tell him that I decided at that point I wanted to get away from India, go to a different country because I wanted to be away from meditation. I wanted to be away from spirituality. I wanted to see the world, because all my friends were going, so I told him, like, I didn't actually give him that's always been the case. Hey, Dad, you know what? I'm going to go to US. And then he was like, you know what? Good. Yeah, go ahead. So it was always been my decision, even as a child. So that, in fact, that was pretty hard because as a child, you don't know what you want, but that's how it has been. So I always had that responsibility of choosing what I want. And probably that's the reason why, I always chose, I was always trained to choose happiness. Like I always wanted to be, that was my main goal. Like, okay, what does make me, okay, Pari, what does make you happy? Think about it. So I grew up thinking that way and manifesting. I always wanted to see what experience I wanted because, again, I was listening, I was programmed to believe that I create my own reality. So I knew I could get what I want. I knew all I needed to do was think about the thing that excites me, that makes me happy. Because my mother always taught me, like, you always have to listen to your heart. Everything will happen, money will come, don't worry about that. So somehow I was programmed in that way. So I would manifest things in my life, but I just didn't know how I did it until I had to figure out after coming back here and going through my rock bottom here. So that's when I would say my reawakening started to my own self.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
your parents handled that exactly right. To let you have that path back.
Yeah.
And, it's hard as a parent to be able to do that. I'm an old parent. So my children are from 28 and up. But it is hard because they're such individuals, and it's really hard when they are making decisions that you're not really sure of, but it sounds like the mindset that they brought to that through their belief system worked really well. They were able to let go and just send you out to do what you were led to do. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I used to sometimes get upset with them about that. Like, hey, you know what? I didn't know as a child, like, why didn't you teach me music or why didn't you do this? He's a flutist, like he plays flute. So I used to be upset at him, like, why didn't you do this? But then he always, like, I had a choice at that point too. But so the one thing that it's always, even if I said, like, even with my ex-boyfriend, when we broke up, we were almost engaged, and I was going to marry him, and I chose that guy. So, and then, we broke up, and I told him, hey, you know what, things didn't work out. I'm going to call off a wedding. And then he's like, okay, go ahead, do what you think is right. You are the master. So, and everybody around me were shocked. Like my friends were shocked. Like, what is this? Like, I mean, that's it, done. You broke up the marriage. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. So, so he always, it's not just in the words that it's your life, you're a master, you know what you need, what do you want. So it always was in practice that he always gave me that freedom to decide what I want.
Brilliant. Well, we are up to our first commercial break already, which never ceases to astound me. So we will be back after this with Pari. Thank y'all for listening, and y'all come back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so fortunate tonight to be able to say that I am joined by my guest, Pari Patri, and this has been an interesting beginning to this conversation, Pari. Thank you so much. And we wanted to move on a little bit towards your transition as you came into America. So please do elaborate on that.
Sure. Yeah. As I mentioned that I came to US when I was 22 for my master's, and I was staying with my aunt and uncle. My father's brother and my mother's sister married each other.
That's unusual. How neat.
Yeah. So I was staying with them. In fact, they were very persistent for me to come, leave India and go stay with them because My father's brother, who is my uncle, hates what my dad does. So he's a scientist. He's a very, the science kind of a guy. And my father teaching meditation, they never, agreed on that. So he always didn't like what my dad was doing. So they decided, they really wanted me to get out of there because they thought if I stayed there, I will, follow my father's path. So they wanted me to get out there and study and, become successful when I say successful in how they,
their perception of success.
Their perception, maybe a corporate job, being a manager or a CEO or whatever, right? That's the trajectory of a success in their perception. So they brought me to US. In fact, he funded all my college because my father couldn't afford. He does everything by free. So they actually funded me. They got me here, and they I'm very, very grateful for that. And so now you can imagine I was in an environment where they hated meditation, right? So, but my whole belief system, I grew up in meditation. I grew up in energy, looking at energy. Because my mother is also a healer. She used to heal. So I used to see all of that. And now I'm surrounded with people who absolutely are not, they don't even, that word is like not even spoken around. So I had to suppress myself because now I had this obligation that because they were paying my college, and also I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want it to be anything like my father, because if I did, I believe because they hated my father, if I'm like him, they would hate me as well. So
what a terrible situation.
Yeah, so I had to suppress, and I was living in their home, so I had to suppress everything I knew about meditation, not talk about meditation, I didn't even mention about my father. I would talk about my mother, but not my father. So it was a very, you can imagine how I have to just choose my words to talk and not just talk about movies or politics or anything but that. And I did that. I did that.
How long did that last?
So I stayed in their house about maybe a couple of years, but then I used to, it lasted about many years, until recently actually, and about 10 years. It lasted about 10 years.
That's a very long time to have to basically deny your inner self and your dad.
Yeah. And everybody around me, it's so my cousins, anywhere I go, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't talk about meditation, nothing. I changed myself. I changed my belief system because I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted. And then in that, I believe that whatever I've learned, maybe it's not for me. Maybe now I'm in the real world. I have to do things what the real world does. Like I have to struggle for a job. I have to get a good job. I have to be successful. I have to make money. I have to, all these like
the whole list.
The milestones that I have to meet, get a car, get a home. And even marriage was part of that milestone that I had to go through. So now I was in a chase. I had to meet my goals. I had to meet these milestones. And so slowly, all this was 10 years. So I changed myself. I changed now. Since now my frequency, my vibration was matching what everybody was believing in that reality and what I really wanted. Things were happening. Like I created my job because I made it. Like I was again, even in that situation, I followed the things to manifest what I wanted, like the first job, because I really wanted to get out of that house.
Right. Let's just let people know that your job was an engineer.
Yeah.
Your education was as an engineer, so you had gone into math and sciences.
Yeah, because that's my uncle was pretty much, he's an engineer too, and he's a scientist. So I followed what they chose for me.
Right.
And I did that. Though I struggled, I was not, very good at studies, but I did manage to pass and everything. And I was living in their home when I passed out of my college, and I had to find a job. And that was the time. Oh my goodness. I had no job. I was looking for a job. I was staying there, and every second, every day I stayed there, I was like, oh my gosh, when will I get out of this? I felt like I was stuck. I was stuck, like nothing was showing up in my life. Now, no door. I don't know how. I didn't have that confidence. Like, how do I do it? How could I get out? How can I make money? And it was as if like every day I lie down, I look at the ceiling, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to be stuck here all my life.
Oh no, that is such a horrid feeling. I think everybody has been there at some point in their life. Maybe, it's almost like you build your own cage.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's a terrible sensation.
Yeah. And then I would just take an excuse that I'm going on a walk, and then I would go out, and that's when I would talk to the universe, like, why am I here? I need to get out. I need to get out, make something happen. And then I would, that's when I used to, again, every time I had the stuck feeling, the one thing that I always did was get out, go to the nature, and be let go. And I would be like, give me something, give me a sign, give me something that things are going to change. And then somehow I always used to listen to my intuition, to my heart, because that's how I'm trained to. Like anytime I suppress myself, I could actually literally feel that energy in my stomach. And I can sense it, like, okay, this is a time I'm stuffing myself. And so since then, I started doing that a lot. Like anything they were, I heard, negative about meditation or my father's work, what they're doing. I couldn't reply back because I was, the obligation or the respect that I had. I couldn't say anything back. And that energy, I could feel it, that the suppressed energy was going into my stomach. I could feel it, but I just ignored that feeling, and I kept doing it. And slowly, so I manifested my job. So I was out of that place, and that's when I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a feeling of like, wow, I'm out. But still, I was corded to them. I was still, because I would come back, I would still be in touch. I'm not completely disconnected. I'm not completely, like, anytime there's a family reunion, I would come back, and I would still not be myself. I'm still not authentic to myself. I'm still putting up a mask. So in that time, I found my husband, and I made it happen again. That's a whole big story on how that happened, because his father, my husband's parents, were not on board with our marriage, so we had to fight them. But anyway, that manifested, and again, I used the same thing that I'll share with you on how I did that. So I got married, and then I got a great corporate job. I was making money, and yet, so slowly after a few years, I started getting migraines. I started getting headaches, shoulder pains, stress headaches.
Yes.
And
because you weren't being true to yourself.
Yeah, and I just ignored it, popping in Tylenols. I kept going, like I didn't listen. I knew things were not right. Something is not right with me. I knew every time this happened. I knew whenever I suppressed, that energy is going into my stomach. But yet I just ignored. I kept going. And finally, one fine day, and also in my career, things were like really bad. I was treated very badly at my workplace. I was working extremely hard, but yet I was not getting that appreciation. I was not getting that recognition that I wanted, because I was working so hard to prove myself. And in that, again, in all midst of all this, I and my husband were trying to have kids, to have a family, and it wasn't happening. So things got quite stressful at that point. And then finally I decided, okay, you know what, after 3 years, I'll go and at least find a doctor and see what's happening. And that's when I saw a specialist, and the doctor told me that, you know what, you have a tube blocked, my fallopian tubes, so it's you can get pregnant. Getting pregnant naturally is not an option, so you may have to go through fertility process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was kind of like,
so this, I'm going to interrupt you on this. Mm-hmm. So this was something that mattered so much to you, but you had already been stymied with all the things that you should have been succeeding at. You had to fight for.
Yeah.
And then this that mattered more than probably anything to you at that time, you're being stymied again.
Yeah. Yeah, this was something very important for me. And just to share, like, so I got pregnant in 2015, but in 13, I knew I was going to get pregnant. I knew I knew that it was going to happen. And somehow it didn't happen. So, but I was like, oh my God, because I had that message or intuition sense within me that soul was ready for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen. And after that, I had this message, in meditation. I was still meditating on my own, though I wouldn't talk about it. When I was meditating, I had this message that the soul who's going to come to me had something unfinished, so it had to go back.
Okay.
But he is going to come back. So I knew it was a he. He's going to come back. But when, I didn't know how, I didn't know. So I had that knowing that I was going to be a mother.
Right.
But when the doctor told me that I was not going to get pregnant, then I was kind of like, no, this is not happening. This is, it is. Then I decided, and it was pretty important because I was focusing on this for last 2 years, and anything I focus on, it happens for me in my life. And this didn't happen. So then I started to reflect upon why things didn't happen. Why am I in this stuck situation where my health is not proper? My career, I struggle so much to be successful, to meet up people's expectations, my family's expectations, but yet I'm not treated with respect. I'm not given the appreciation I deserve. And because of all this stress, I was having trouble with my relationship with my husband. So things are not quite, they should be like, though I have the money, though I have this great parties at, on Saturday nights, we're always, with the friends and everything. But yet I was feeling this void in my heart. I would never have this, the great, like conversation with friends. It's always the surface that I'm talking, whether it's movies or food or whatever, but it was never felt that real for me. And I'm unhappy. Like, what is going on? Like, what is that I have to believe to make this happen? Because one thing I knew was whatever I believed, whatever my subconscious mind believed, my reality must express itself.
Yeah. So you were just kind of going through the motions in your reality.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
I believe,
terrible.
yeah. So I believe that I had to struggle to make money. I believe that I had to, like, doing what you love doesn't work in the real world. I believe that thing, I have to, like, endure whatever it is to be successful. And again, the success was being in that environment. So having all these belief systems, no wonder I was seeing what I was seeing in my life. There was no other way, because that is what I believed. And that was, I guess.
So that's what you were manifesting.
Mm-hmm. That's why I manifested. I was disconnected with my true self. I was not authentic to myself. I was way, way, way disconnected. I was not grounded. So it was like an awakening time for me. Like, you know what? Boom. Like, I had to have that fall to realize because I ignored so much. The first time I had the headache, I ignored. So remember I said that I would feel that energy suppressed in my stomach. That's where I had the block, the physical block, which was like showing it in my face. Like, you know what? This is where you have the block because I was doing that. So I knew why my fallopian tube was blocked. I knew that because I was doing it to myself.
Isn't that just astounding that we can do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and
that was years, though. I mean, you had been blocking your true self for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry that happened.
Well, yeah, I didn't have that courage. I was too scared. I was living in fear. I was living in people pleasing mode constantly. I was always looking for that external approval to see if I'm being accepted or not, if I'm being loved or not. Always looking externally, and no wonder I manifested what I did. So I knew that everything happened because I created that. I made it happen, and that's when I decided, like, you know what, I have to turn it around, and I have to change everything that I was in. And I made the decision then at that point that I was going to be a mother.
That is outstanding. And, it's people don't understand that when our energy is not where we need it to be, when we're just resonating with lower vibration, that you have a meme that you have in so many places, and basically it's you get what matches your vibration.
Yes.
And
you only
that
get
really
what
spoke to me.
Yeah, you only get what what matches your vibration, and that's the rule. That's whatever you get what you vibrated. That's it. That's how it works. If I'm vibrating fear, I'm going to get more of that. If I'm vibrating guilt, shame, regret, all of that, I'm going to get more of that. And I did that. I was vibrating fear. I was vibrating frustration. I was vibrating, regrets or shame. Like whenever shame was a big part of it, right? Whenever
it is, and it wasn't even shame that you should have owned.
Exactly.
And, I'm going to interrupt you because we are fixing to get into some very deep stuff here as you talk about how you turned this around. And I'm going to go ahead and take our break before we get to that.
Okay.
So we will be back, and Pari will continue this story of her transition from the fear, regret, and shame, and the blockage as well. So come back, and we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for being here.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host. I am joined tonight by Pari Patri, who is one of the most motivational people I've come across in quite some time, and I look for these. So Pari has been sharing details of how she had Pari, how you had gotten stuck in kind of manifesting things that weren't good for you. And you had decided that you were going to make that transition and go back to what would center you.
Yes. So I was talking about how things didn't quite work out. So I made this decision. First thing is, that's the most important, is making a decision that I am going to make this happen. I didn't know how. I didn't know, when or how. I didn't know anything. All I knew was it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then I went ahead and I told my doctor and that, you know what, okay, let's go with this fertility process, and I'm ready. And the second, this is again the words that I'm ready. So that's one of the things that I use in my programs to manifesting. So at that point, I didn't really know the recipe that I teach right now, but I kind of followed the steps that I'm talking. So first thing is, I've made a decision, and the second, I said I'm ready. My husband, although was in shock, like he was like, you didn't do any research, you didn't do anything. How can you say you're ready? How can you say this? And he was the guy he's a guy who has to make sure everything is, foolproof. We have to make the right decision. We have to do a lot of, he started Googling then, what is this IVF? What does that entail? And also he was worried, he was concerned about me, that, that I have to go through this process. What are the side effects and all of that? But I just said, okay, you do that work, make sure that you are comfortable. It helps you, convince you, then, go ahead and do that. But I have decided I'm going to do it. And luckily, because I was in the corporate job, the insurance was kind of covering. So I was taken care, at least on that point. Though it was a huge investment, I never worried about money. I knew when I want it, money will come.
Right.
And so I didn't worry. All I had to choose was, what do I want now? I want to be a mother. So I was just focusing on that. And then that's when I started making changes in my life. The first thing I changed was, I took out all the toxic people from my life, all the people who tell me stories, like negative stories. You know what? I know one person who went through this process and it failed. The people in our lives who tell those stories all the time.
Absolutely.
And
they're always there. I mean, it doesn't matter what the situation is, they're always around.
Yeah.
And different faces, but the same attitudes.
Mm-hmm. So I disconnected myself from those people. I did not want to hear any story, because I knew that was their story, and it is not my story. Because I was writing my own story.
Yes.
So I disconnected all those people. I just completely took them out of my life. And so that's one thing. And even at work, I would just do the stuff I was doing. I was not taking anything personally. I started implementing the tools that I was teaching. Now I teach is that, first, take away toxic people. Even in the house, I started removing anything that does not align with my goals. I would not encourage any talks. Even with my husband, I would not talk anything about not happening. And this was something that I've learned from my father, because, again, going back to the story with him, how he manifested.
Right.
He would always talk about, like, it already happened, that we are going to do this. He would have this big dreams, the big visions, like the whole world, like we'll build this big pyramids where thousands of people will meditate. And at that point, there were just like 2 or 3 people meditating, and he would say these words, and everybody like, what are you talking about? Like, how would that even happen? Like, how would that even happen? So I was never scared. I knew, because I saw that, I knew that we need to believe in our dreams, in our goals. We need to believe in ourselves that it has happened, and it already happened. So I was living that truth within myself, that I already believe that it already happened. So I bought some baby clothes, and I did some shopping, and I went and put the closet. So I already was preparing for the baby to come.
Right.
And I started visualizations, visualizing that I'm changing the diapers, or, I'm doing this. So I started creating those clips in my mind. I would play them often, and the best times to do that is sunset and sunrise. Like, that's like the planetary alignment when the manifestation is at its peak. So every time that happens, I'm visualizing, I'm doing my affirmations. My affirmations. So at every step, so if you know about the IVF process, the first thing is you have to go through a retrieval. That is, they take your eggs and the sperm. So that's the one cycle. And then after they take your eggs, they fertilize it, and they'll see how many have been fertilized, and they'll monitor that. And so once they'll have embryos, normally for an average woman at that point, you have like 20 eggs or so. But I had like 12 eggs, 11 eggs, like half. So my chances were very less. And after fertilization, normally a woman of my age at that point, like 32, would have like 5 to 6 embryos grown, and they would freeze them up so they can use it multiple times, like if you want a second baby or a third baby.
Oh, okay.
So so for me, and then the next cycle is that they take that embryo and they put it in your uterus. So now the uterus, it has to implant in my uterus. So my uterus will do the job of implantation. And once it is implanted, then in 12 weeks, they'll confirm whether I'm pregnant or not. So with even that 12 weeks, I'm still not confirmed whether I'm pregnant or not. So you see, this whole process is very nerve-wracking. Like, it's so emotionally involved. Like, you have no idea. Every time I go, I'm half the average. I'm not even like every, the chances. So all these numbers are running in my husband's mind, but not in my mind. For me,
well, because you've already visualized, and you've also, through practicing what you believe, you've been in touch with, you've been made aware that there is a soul waiting to join you.
Mm-hmm. I didn't let any of these numbers affect me.
Right.
I said, all I knew was it is happening. All we need is one baby. It is happening. And every day I have to go to the clinic, sit, and all the women there are living in fear. You see that because they are going through the same process. But none of it, I would not affect it. I would put meditation music on my drive. I would put my headphones. I would take a book and go read the stuff. And that is the point when I always was into crystals, but I never took it, like really, really got into it. At that point, I got into crystals, learning about crystals, energy, how they work. I started learning about quantum science, quantum physics, how really energy works. And I got into energy work, and I realized that I was very, very sensitive to energies, and that's when my whole healing work started. And the most of it is, before I go into the next step, the crystals. So I started learning about crystals. I was doing some YouTubing, or I was trying to get some books, research. I did a couple of courses. And then I started experimenting with it. I started bringing crystals, working with it, doing some crystal grids for the retrieval. So what I did was I put my first thing is mindset, that I believe it is happening, taking away the toxicity. The second thing is raising my own vibration by doing meditation every day. I used to go to acupuncture. Oh my gosh, I did everything that because I wanted to make it. I didn't have a second chance. All I had was one chance, because insurance only covers, only number of, it doesn't cover every time. So I had
I
only
didn't know that.
Yeah, it only gives you 2 chances. So I had to make it happen at that point. And also as you age, the chances are less. And at that point, I was already in the average, less than average. So I had to make it happen. I didn't have any other option B. It was going to happen. So I had to put everything in play. So I put my crystals in, even at work, I would take it. Because again, in ultrasound, you're in radiation almost every day. So I took some crystals to protect me from that, to raise my vibration, to not be in stress. I meditated every day. And then what I did was I took pyramids, because again, I grew up learning about the pyramid power. So I took a pyramid every day, a copper pyramid. I would put it on my stomach. And I would, when I'm watching TV, when I'm sleeping, anytime I'm just at home, the pyramid was on my stomach. And I would visualize energy spiraling in my stomach and clearing all the blocks. So this is something, a visualization technique I teach. And that's what I'm doing that all the time. It's not something like I did Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm in that focus. I cut out all the distractions. I'm making it happen. And I would visualize that all the time. And whenever I take a pill, because in this process, you take in a lot of hormones every single day for your body to, trick that you're getting pregnant. Yes. So they mess up your chemical balance as well. So every time I take the pill or the injection, I visualize and I command my body to completely accept that. And my body is now getting ready. So I would program my body to be accepting and receptive of this new chemicals that I'm taking in. And I print out, I asked my husband I wrote down, so I got some affirmations for each cycle that I talked about, retrieval, implantation, and everything. So for each cycle, I wrote down a few affirmations. I printed them out in beautiful colors and everything. I like colors. So I pasted them on my bathroom door. Like the whole door is filled with those affirmations. Every time I go inside out, I pee, I pass through that. I would read that. I would take a minute, I read them. And the way I do that is that for affirmations to work is we need to have both mind, our intention, and our heart aligned. So, for example, like in one of that's now I knew at that point I didn't know, but in Heart Math Institute, they did a study. I guess we are in 2 minutes. We have a break, so maybe I can save that. Yeah, save that for later. But so I put that affirmations on the door, and I would read it with the process that I'll share with you just after the break. And so I put all these together in alignment, and that's how I manifested my 2 kids. So
how wonderful is that? So you didn't have to in vitro the second one?
Yes, I did have to, because I had only 1 embryo. So my nurse calls me. I was at work. This was in New Jersey. So she calls me and she says, so if we have 2 embryos, what would you want? Do you want a girl or a boy? And I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you asking me? And I'm at my work, just at my desk. And she's like, do you want a girl or a boy? And I'm like, do I have to play nature now? Like, what? How can I even answer that question?
What is the correct? I mean, there's no right answer to that.
Yeah, and I said that because my husband always wanted a girl, so I said, okay, a girl. And but I didn't have a choice, because I had only 1 embryo, a good one. So, and that was a boy. So I didn't actually have to choose when I went for in vitro. Even the second time, I went through the whole process again. But this time I was more confident because I knew the process, how to make it happen.
Yes.
So I just followed that.
Well, that is so fantastic. And I can't wait to come back and hear the rest of this. So, because it's just such a gift and a blessing to hear you talk about this. Thank you very much. And y'all, we're at the top of the hour. You know that means a news break. This is a great time to fill up your tea mug, your water glass, whatever rocks your boat, and maybe throw a few cartwheels out there too. But we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for being here, and y'all come back with Pari Patri.
Rounding up thousands around the country, I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News. The administration says don't call them raids, whatever you call them. They're keeping federal immigration agents busy.
At least 10 cities are the focus for the roundup of undocumented immigrants, and it was one of the topics today on Fox News Sunday. Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, said the actions weren't raids, but, quote, final removal orders for people who are here illegally.
And ICE is going to do what they do every day, which is go ahead and enforce the law.
Assistant House Speaker Ben Ray Lujan, also on Fox News Sunday, said President Trump should be going after criminals, not children and families.
I'm terrified as to the fear that the president is instilling in families, the impact that this is going to have on small businesses across America.
Some city leaders, including New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, have said they would not cooperate with ICE.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Another controversial tweet by President Trump. He called out progressive congresswomen who, in his words, originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, suggesting they go back and help fix the crime-infested places from which they came. Senator Dick Durbin suspects the president was singling out Michigan Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a Somali refugee and practicing Muslim. She moved here with her family as a teenager.
I think there's only one in particular he's pointing to. The fact that they went through refugee camps, came to the United States, clawed their way into an existence, and eventually were elected. Thank goodness. That is part of what America holds as a dream for people around the world, and the president should not diminish it.
Durbin on CBS's Face the Nation. Barry downgraded to a tropical depression, making its way north into Arkansas. Life-threatening flash flooding still a concern from Louisiana into western Tennessee. Tornado warnings now in effect for about another hour from Slidell, Louisiana, into southwest Mississippi. This is Fox News.
At TD Ameritrade, they're reinventing how you invest. Whether you want to place a trade on Facebook Messenger or get market news from your smart speaker, TD Ameritrade's technology is designed to bring the market to you. See what's new at tdameritrade.com/innovation. Member SIPC.
I'm so sorry that this happened. Obviously, it was beyond all of our control.
That's Jennifer Lopez after last night's concert was cut short when a blackout plunged Madison Square Garden and much of Midtown Manhattan into darkness. No word on the cause, but there is no sign of terrorism, and J-Lo's concert has been rescheduled for tomorrow night. A warning we cannot hear enough. Little kids and lawnmowers do not mix.
The sheriff's office in Jennings County, Indiana, is investigating what they're calling a terrible accident. William Waltermeyer was mowing his lawn when he somehow backed over his 2-year-old grandson. It happened early Saturday afternoon in Comiskey, about 70 miles south of Indianapolis. Waltermeyer and his wife went to the sheriff's office in North Vernon requesting an ambulance for the toddler. The child was airlifted to the hospital, having sustained serious injuries. The grandparents told police the child, while being chased by the grandmother, ran towards his grandfather while he was backing up the mower. He fell and went under the machine while it was still running. Karen McHugh, Fox News.
A chess grandmaster caught cheating during a match?
It sounded innocent on the surface. 58-year-old Igor Rosas was playing a match at a tournament in France and took a bathroom break. And according to the UK's Daily Telegraph, was seen on surveillance video looking at his smartphone, and that is a no-no. The chess world considers that cheating because a player can potentially use smartphone apps to look at past moves and matches to get an edge on their current game. Rosas tells Chess.com that he simply lost his mind, insinuating that he mistakenly looked at his phone because he was tired. It's so serious that the tape was sent to an ethics committee, and the French police are also involved. Ken Duffy, Fox News.
No cheating in this match on ESPN.
Novak Djokovic.
It was a marathon men's Wimbledon final. After 5 sets, Novak Djokovic the winner. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host. You are listening to us on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We are the online voice of Fate Magazine. If you have not renewed your subscription, you are due for a treat because the new issue is being sent out. I know it's being printed. I'm not sure if they've been mailed yet, but you know what? They are always worth it. There's never a dull story. Everything that I have read in every edition of Fate Magazine has been fantastic, and it makes me go, really? That's bizarre. Or, oh, that's so interesting. Or, man, I'm glad I didn't come across that. There's so much to see, so many fantastic contributors. And, you know, I have had people come on this show that I did not even know were contributors, and they were fabulous. So, it's a good thing. Go get it. Like I said, I know that the latest edition is in the printer if it's not heading out in mailboxes by now. So just look at fatemag.net to get that taken care of. We are so fortunate with our guest tonight. Pari Patri is a women's empowerment coach, an entrepreneur, spiritual healer. She's been a meditation teacher since she was 5, over 25 years. She is from India, and her dad founded the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement. He is Brahmarshi Subhash Patri. So I know that if you are familiar with pyramid science or the Pyramid Spiritual Societies movement, then you're very well aware of his dedication, his lifestyle. His family have given their life to this work. So not someone that doesn't know what she's talking about when it comes to meditation, manifestation, and doing what it takes to make your visions and your dreams realities. So welcome back, Pari.
Thank you.
You know, we had to go to break, and you were wanting to share, so please feel free.
Thank you. Yeah, we got into some deep conversation about how I started working on manifestation, and I wanted to share some interesting facts about something the Heart Math Institute has done. So basically, this is an institute that study the heart waves. Basically, we have brain waves and heart waves. So they study the interaction with the heart, like how with the emotions and thoughts and heart, how does it work? So what they did was they took 3 groups of people, and they are all trained to get into a certain, level of emotion quite instantly. So these 3 groups of people, so one group was asked, so they were given a sample of DNA, because you can see the changes on a DNA sample quite physically. And so the first group was asked to have an intention about something, like, have one intention and just work on that, like just keep focusing on that. And they wanted to see if that changed anything on that sample. And so they were given very specific amount of time to focus on that. And they started working on that, and they quite didn't see any changes on the DNA sample. The second group were asked to hold a higher elevated emotion, that is of love, compassion, gratitude. And so the whole group was, I think it was about a group of 10, and the group was, instantly they elevated their emotions. Maybe, they were trained to think about something they loved, and that elevated. And everybody were monitored. It was all a monitored situation. And they saw that the DNA sample didn't actually change. Nothing really changed on that. Now you may anticipate what I'm going to say, but in the third group, So they were asked to elevate their emotion to that of compassion or love or forgiveness or gratitude, and also hold the intention. And that's when they started seeing changes on the DNA.
Wow.
So the interesting thing is that it's not just doing your affirmations and just saying it. We need to actually hold that emotion in our heart, no matter what, where you are. And the best way for me, how I do is I place my hands on my heart center, and before I do that, I just hold it a second and give an intention to open my heart center, and then I start, think about something that you love, maybe your dog or your child or whatever that makes you have that emotion, and then do your affirmations, because that's when it's actually working. It's actually projecting, vibrating into the universe. So I started this thing, and the best time to do is when your subconscious mind is least active. That is when, just before your bed, like you're really sleepy and you want to go to bed. That's when it's the best time to do your affirmations, because your conscious mind is less active. Or in the middle of the night when you wake up and you want to go to the bathroom and you're still in your sleep, you're in the trance mode, and that's when, oh my gosh, that's the best time to go into the bathroom, look into the mirror and do it. So this is something that I did every single day, and the affirmations, what you choose, are also important. Like, it has to be very specific. It's not like, when I was doing my retrieval, I'm not going to say about something which is an affirmation after I'm getting pregnant, after I got pregnant. So something very specific to that space, like my eggs are perfect, or my eggs are growing as they should. So something in that way. So we are focusing in that specific task. So you make those steps, those phases of affirmations and visualizations and everything, they go together, and the crystals that you use. So it's a process. So then I started making that so I started noting it down, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And then energy work. I knew about chakras, the 7 chakras that we have. I've heard about it all my childhood. I've seen Kundalini awakenings. I've done all of that, but really I didn't really understand, and I didn't really work with it intentionally until then. So then I started going back to and reading, those about chakras and what is going on, and I realized everything was happening. Everything was so clear to me. I was stuffing my second chakra was the blockage where my fallopian tubes were affected. And that was my emotional chakra as well. And so I was stuffing all my emotions. So that was so freaking blocked that, it created all these physical blocks. No wonder it manifested that way. And then I started studying them, and I started understanding how to clear them, how to balance them. So then I got into the energy work. Then I started visualizing. Then a second chakra is it has this color vibration as well, which is orange. So I started working with my go-to crystal at that point was carnelian. And I worked extensively with that, drinking carnelian water, because that's non-toxic. And I'm saying that I want to make, put a disclaimer that not all crystals are non-toxic. So you got to be careful about what crystal you can put in your water. And so I started drinking that water, changing everything. I wanted to be in that higher vibration, because illnesses or diseases only happen when we are in the lower vibration. When we shift our frequency, then our body also reprograms itself. And with our intention, we give a direction on how we want to program it. And that's exactly what I started doing. I started putting high vibe tools into my body. Food, I would eat more of orange food, getting that color therapy, and always focusing on how I'm clearing my chakra, and meditations. So it's really putting all this in together was something that I started learning step by step. And once I got pregnant and I made it happen, then really something shifted in me. And I remember, and that's when my second manifestation happened, which is bigger one, which is a bigger change, is when I had to go back to my work. Like I took my maternity leave and all that. And when I started going back to my work, then it just didn't seem right. Like I just didn't want to be there. I just felt like I was stuck in this cubicle in front of this computer doing something that I was not meant to do. I was wasting every second of my life sitting in that cubicle. And this was another big milestone, like a step in my life, because what happened was, because I just had 2 babies, so my family, increased, and of course the expenses as well, and so I had to tell my husband that, you know what, I wanted to quit and do, I wanted to be a spiritual teacher or something in spirituality. I didn't even know what I wanted to do, how I can do it, where I can start. But I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to quit my job. I couldn't sit in there. But also, there was reprogramming that needed to be done, because, as I mentioned, my father did everything for free. So as I growing up, I saw extreme money issues. My mother always struggled with money because she didn't have a constant income flowing into our house. We had food on our place when somebody donated money. Somebody donated rice, somebody appreciated what my father did and gave money. That's how I grew up. That's my story.
That's difficult. And it's very difficult to come from being a corporate person to anticipating that.
Yeah. And my mother, it was extremely, so I've seen extreme situation growing up. So in my mind, so I had to struggle. So my belief system was that if I do a spiritual path, then I will be poor, because I saw that in my house. So, or money and spirituality can go together. If I have to make money, then I have to do something that I don't like, or what the world does, in regular job. I can't be doing teaching meditation or doing spirituality and earn money. So I had major money blocks, mindset blocks. So even if I had quit the job, how am I going? Because I don't want to live in poverty. I want comfort. I want to travel. I want to go exotic vacations. I don't want to lower my standard of living. So I had to do something, because I want to do what I love. My soul was screaming whenever I go and sit in that freaking cubicle. I had to get out of there, but I didn't know how. So there was so much, though now the next struggle started, that I wanted to come out and do what I want to love, but also make money. Yes. So now I started reprogram. So now I follow the same steps, what I did for my kids, to shift my mindset about money, my relationship with money. So now I recognize that the belief systems that I was holding, that money and spirituality don't go together, or I can't make money with teaching meditation. Those are all my father's belief systems, not mine. And so now I had to reprogram myself, saying that these are my favorite affirmations. I am a money magnet. People, there you go. That money and spirituality absolutely can go together. Money is energy, So I started reprogramming myself, how I see money, how my relationship with money. And also I started, now I had to tell my husband, one fine day I came home and I said, he was not happy with it, of course, because he thought that I didn't have a direction. I didn't know what I was going to do. And yet I was quitting my job. And he was like,
that always makes them happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I know that we have a break coming up. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop this right now, and I want to pick back up with when you told your husband.
Okay.
So, because that's got to be great. So we will be right back. And y'all, thank you for listening. And y'all just hang with us. We'll be right back with Pari.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, and this is Kat Hobson, your host. We are having this wonderful discussion with Pari Patri, who is just a wonderful person. We have been talking about different things during the breaks, and one of these days somebody is going to start recording those breaks, but again, not me. Some of that is just... it's just special. And Pari, I apologize for interrupting you.
No, we stopped at the right time.
But we were coming up to the area. You had been working towards manifesting what you needed to happen. And you had gone to your husband to let him know that you were going to be making a change. Mm-hmm. So how did that go?
Well, as you may have expected, it didn't go pretty well because he had his own plans. He knew that probably I would make this change, but not like right away, not like, that
week.
Yeah, that week or that day. But for me, it was like every day was like an eternity. I couldn't do it. I couldn't drive my car to that parking lot and go into that cold office, sit in that cubicle and do some spreadsheets that didn't even matter for me. So I was going through that. I gave him hints that I was not really happy what I was doing, but he didn't expect that this was coming. So he was in shock for sure. He was in shock because he was like, he had to make adjustments. Like now one income is going to be gone. So how he needs to manage everything. And for me, I was working on, so I knew in my heart, again, this was a knowing that I had, was I was going to make a lot of money. This is going to be successful as long as I follow my heart. If I didn't, I probably will be successful too in the job that I was doing, or maybe, I was probably make some more money, but really I wouldn't be happy. If I'm not happy, obviously, the kids or him not going to happy. So for me, I decided that I had to follow my heart. I had to quit. I had to take this leap, a leap of faith, and jump into just betting on myself, because
That's a great way to put that. Betting on yourself.
Yeah, I just had to bet on myself because I knew it's worth it. I knew it is going to be worth it because I had that belief in myself. I was going to make it happen. What am I going to do? Am I going to teach meditation? What is that? I didn't know anything. I had no idea. But so it didn't go well, but yet I went ahead and I gave my 2 months notice or 2 weeks notice. And oh boy, when I gave that notice, I was extremely happy. I was so happy. It felt like freedom for me, and I was
That's
finally.
How you know that's what needed to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your indicator. That's the light coming on.
Yeah, and exactly that. In my heart, I felt so free. I'm like, I know I'm gonna do this great things. I know I'm gonna make it happen. And I quit my job, and then I started working on now. What am I going to do? So then I seeked out a mentor. So for me, having mentors was very important in my life because I wanted to make things happen quickly. Like I didn't want to wait 3 years or 4 years for things to happen. So I seeked out an expert in teaching me what do I need to do, how am I going to start. So I found such great mentors, and also at that point I took a workshop, One Light Healing Touch. It's a healing workshop by Ron Levin. Actually, they have a show on Gaia TV called Healing Field. Mm-hmm. So I saw that movie on TV, and I knew I had to go there. I just had to know, and it was about $3,000, and it was in LA. So I had to pay for the flight tickets. I had to pay for 1 week's, or rather 2 weeks hotel rental, and so it was about like $5,000 or $6,000 investment. And I told my husband, so I quit my job, and I told my husband I wanted to go there. He thought I was crazy.
Yes, I could see that. That would be my husband's reaction.
Yeah, he thought I was crazy, but then I didn't give up. I was persistent. You know what? My heart is, and I was telling him, my heart is calling. I need to go there. I don't know why, but all I can tell you is I have to go there. So he said, you know what? Okay, you know what? If you really, really think this is for you, then let's just do it. So again, and I'm really grateful for having such a great husband.
You do have a great husband.
So I'm really grateful. And I went there. Oh boy, that changed everything. The connections I made. I met some people that I was meant to meet. And that's where I met my first mentor. We started the initiation. So I started meeting people. So what happened was, as I was following my heart, I was doing it. I met people who were helping me in my career. So slowly I started getting ideas. Slowly I was figuring out stuff, what I need to do. And then I had a strong feeling, then I decided to call myself Cosmic Moon. That's when the Cosmic Moon had birthed. Because I wanted to have that vibration. So words have vibration. And that's why, stage names, where the vibration changes, it takes you up to a level. So I decided to call myself Cosmic Moon because moon was something that I was so strongly guided to since I knew this world. And cosmic energy was something that I, heard all my life. So Cosmic Moon was something that I was deeply called into. So I named I created a company called Cosmic Moon, and I call myself Cosmic Moon. And everything just started shifting. My vibration started shifting. I was meeting some amazing people and who started helping me. And they were like, you know what, we just wanted to help you. And all these are women. So I decided I had a deep calling to work with women. And I said, you know what, I'm going to work with women. This is where I'm called to. This is what I'm going to do. And I started creating my programs. I just started putting everything out there. I just took all the steps that I did to manifest and I put it out there into that program. So it includes the mindset, the energy work, the tools, how to use them, how to customize them for your vibration, for your specific intention, which aligns with the chakra. So everything together, the flower essences, the crystals, and also the sound frequencies. Like, I still work with a lot of sound frequencies to reprogram our subconscious mind. And I put all of this in that program, and I said, you know what, this is like a power pack program, because we're going to put everything and plug it out and just wait for the magic to unfold. And I started creating this program, and also I started pricing myself. Like, that was a big challenge, how to price yourself. And I didn't want to struggle with money. So I had to find clients who would get results, who would be successful, and who would pay me.
Well, and that's one of the things that I know was a struggle. But I like the fact that you identified your clients, your client base. You put together your product based on you, and you went forth with conviction of knowing that this manifestation and these practices worked because they had worked for you multiple times. So, you were bringing a full package to the table as you were seeking this client base. And those who think that you have to starve to be spiritual are not always right. It depends on it depends on what you need personally. No one knows the other's path. And I think it's beautiful that you did that. How did you go about reaching out to your first session group?
So then I started learning about how to do that, how to become an entrepreneur, because that's, again, a whole different ball game. I was never, nobody, like my husband is not, we are all into this corporate structure. I don't know anything about this entrepreneurship, how to do sales, marketing, selling stuff, telling that you are good at something, that's bragging, and me being a people-pleasing person, or me being this person, oh, you know what, no, I'm not so good at this, that, all of that within me. But now I have to change my whole mindset, whole ball game. So again, it's about the energy. So everything in our lives, what I've seen and what I've experienced in my clients or in my life is that anything in our lives, our relationships, career, our health, prosperity, everything is a direct reflection of our own inner energy, inner vibration. So in anything that is not right, that means that there has to be something within us. So if I'm not attracting the right kind of clients, the right kind of business, then I am projecting something that is attracting these, the wrong clients. So I had to first stop and go back to my own inner beliefs and just, program that. And then I start attracting. And this is something so critical, so important for a business to be successful. So I started working on my affirmations. As I mentioned, the affirmations having very specific affirmations is so important to manifest what you want. So, and also asking exactly what you want, not something that we were just talking about that in the break, is not something you think, you should have based on your current circumstances. Or, this seems fair, maybe I should go for this. Just being bold enough and asking for what do you really, really want. And that is what, again, most of the women I work with struggle with knowing what they really want, because we have to dig deeper, take out those layers of, fear or
because we're programmed not to do that. We're programmed to meet society needs, family needs, and to identify ourselves as a unit member, not an individual.
Exactly. And so I had to dig really deep and exactly ask what I want. I want maybe 3 clients or 4 clients paying so and so money. And I have to believe that I'm worth that money, not just saying, oh, I want $10,000, or not really in my subconscious mind, belief, oh my gosh, who is going to pay me that? That is ridiculous. If I'm thinking that and I'm putting that out in my affirmation, that's not going to work. So I have
and people will read that energy.
Yeah,
people will
exactly.
read that self-doubt.
Yeah. So I had to first work on my own. Okay, I am worthy of this. Why? First thing is I had to work on myself, own my worthiness, and then I start putting that vibration out by doing my affirmations, by visualize. I would visualize this clip in my head every single time that I remember a client taking a credit card and swiping the first call I talked to her. I replay this in my head, and make it so real that the vibration, that feeling of having a client is natural to me. And this is one of the manifestation techniques that so many books talk about. Neville Goddard, the inner conversations make up your reality. Grow Rich, Think Rich. All these books talk about this visualization technique. You run this clip every time, anything is like you having that experience, not how you get there. People talk about, I want to have more money. But the thing is, what will you do with that money? What are you going to do? Are you going to pay off your debts? Are you going to go for an exotic vacation? What are you going to do with that money? That is the experience we need to play in our mind. Not having 10K, not having 20K. Is having that the final experience that you are going to do with that money. So you're already thinking that you already have the money when you're thinking about the experience. So
I see. You are already assuming and experiencing the money is there. So because you're visualizing the spending of it,
right? So you're visualizing sitting on that beach, seeing that beautiful, scenic mountains or water, or the feeling of paying off your debt. How does it feel when you pay off your debt? What does that freedom feel like for you? So we are going to go into that future moment, bring that into the present, and replaying that, every second. And the key here is letting go of that how and when, because that's the ego trying to have control. How is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? So we want to let
ego
go.
Ego is powerful, though.
It's
hard to let go of that for most people.
And that's where meditation comes into play. That's when we bring in this higher vibration tools, aligning, working with our chakras, working with energy work. That's how they come into play in allowing us to be in this expansion mode, in this creative mode, but not in this fear or doubts, having those doubts, or how is it going to happen? Letting go of that. So when we bring these higher vibrations, these tools, it allows us to be in that allowing mode, just happening. So we can be in the present, do what we are doing, but also work with these tools to we are creating the future while we are living the present as well, but not having attachments to the outcomes. When we have attachment to a specific outcome, when I say attachments, an emotional charge, we create an emotional cord, and at that point we are not living in the present, and we don't create when we don't live in the present. We have to be in the present, the now moment. That's where the creation happens. So we need to let go of that attachment, the cords that we have either to the past or future, or to any specific significant event, cutting those cords, clearing your energy drains, raising your vibration. And that's how we start manifesting.
That's pretty amazing. You know, so many people, I read your website. I love your website, by the way. And it is really interesting because I was a suburban housewife who was working within a corporate structure, who had 3 kids that wanted to have activities, who wanted to do things. 2 of them had to be in daycare full-time, the other after school. And I knew that I could not stay in the life that I was living at that point. I had no idea how to change it because the obligations that I felt were pushing down so hard that I couldn't be creative in my thinking. And finally, I just changed it because I knew it had to change. And I found a job in another town who would pay for me to take my children to another city while I trained for that job. And, then I was able to come back to do the job, still had the same expenses in a different city, but was in a better environment. So I didn't know what I was doing, but without that knowledge, basically I did what you suggest and what you teach, but it sure did feel scary. And a lot of people are afraid of trying to do this. Oh, and we've got 1 minute before break. But, I think that when we come back, I would like to talk about being able to, how you get people confident enough to feel that this is going to be something that they can actually do. Because, as I said, we are programmed as a society of women to not be taking a lead. I mean, women's lib is great and everything, but it still keeps women kind of locked in that corporate structure if they're trying to take care of their families. And they get locked in and they're afraid. They're afraid of the change. So when we come back, can we address some of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we will be back, and thank you for that. So, y'all catch us here just in a second. Enjoy this.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and you are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is my final segment with Pari. This 2 hours has flown by, Pari. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
So we were going to talk about how you find ways. If somebody is reaching out to you, they've already pretty much decided that they must make a transition, right? So you're going to help them to be able to figure out what to do to cause that to occur, to manifest that.
Right.
How do you get them past the fear?
Well, so that's definitely something that I deal with for most of the women that I talk to. So the way it works is, so I talk about it. So I have, if anyone is interested to work with me, first thing I have a call with them. Like I offer a free complimentary call to really discuss if I am the one who can, if I can help them. Just trying to make sure that, we are the right fit to work with each other. Once I determine based on, the questions that I have an application form based on the questions and everything, once I realize that, okay, you know what, this is somebody that I can help with. And if they have questions, most of them have questions about, is it really going to work? Some women are like, I've worked with affirmations, I've done meditation, but nothing really changed. So how is this going to work for me? So, and I've had many clients who are actually spiritual and who come to me. And that's when I ask the question like, well, obviously what you've done did not work. So that's why you're here. So, and I have a track record or the client list that I have successful results. And I'm going to tell them, see, first thing is making a decision. Procrastination is a form of fear. Self-doubt, doubts is a form of fear. When you know, because in that fear, you're not going to make the right decision. If you are not making a decision, has a power of activating a frequency of manifestation. Once we make a decision, I am going to Hawaii. Once you make the decision, the mind now starts working on how to make it happen. You don't ask your mind, hey, can I go to Hawaii right now? The mind will say, no, you can't go. Look at the money you have. You don't have vacation. You have so many things to do, your schedule. So your mind, your ego is always trying to give you reasons for why you should not do this. Same thing with your workout. When we sign up for workout, getting up and doing, no, your mind will be like giving you 101 reasons why you should not go work out. You're tired, you have a headache, you're hungry, you have to sleep, you have to, you have so many excuses. So we never ask our mind whether we need to do something or not. You have to, mind loves commands. You have to command your mind, you know what, I am doing this. So make it happen. So then now, once you give that command, the mind will start creating those opportunities of how you can make it happen. So maybe once you decided you're going to go to Hawaii, though you don't have money, the mind will give you, now you'll start attracting opportunities of how to make that money to do that, to make that travel. Maybe a friend of you may offer a free ticket or a free, stay or something. So things will start showing up. And so that all starts once you decide. We have to decide. So this is something that I explain them. That we need first take away. First thing is check with your heart. Take away the money part of it or the time part. Because some women do say, I don't have time. I don't have this because this is not a priority for them. So First thing is take away the time factor or the money factor, or all those factors, and think. What do you really want? Do you want to do this? Do you want to take this time for yourself? Invest in yourself so you can have a better future. So one thing I always say, if you don't take time to create your future right now, you are going to spend a lot of time managing the life that you do not want. So
yes, and you also speak so strongly about self-care.
Yeah.
Because
Self-care.
women are not necessarily, we nurture and care for everyone except ourselves.
Yeah. And this is in every occupation, whether I am in corporate or I'm a mom or I'm an entrepreneur. In every situation, the women are programmed to do stuff like give. And even as in the corporate, it's always like, okay, we have to plan vacations, or we have to do this, we have to do that. I have to be best at my company. I have to do. It's never, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to do something to elevate my consciousness, something to bring me happiness. That was never a priority. So shifting, having that as a priority completely changes your life. Because when we start attending to our needs, what happens is we stop seeking approval from outside, and we start seeking value or worthiness from outside, because now we are programming ourselves to be worthy. Like, we are enough. I am enough. I am worthy. And what that happens is no longer we need a relationship to make us feel beautiful, make us feel loved, make us feel worthy. We don't need our husband or partner or boss or an employee to say that, you are worthy or you deserve this, or give us appreciation. We no longer depend on that. We start depending on our own inner consciousness. And that's the beauty of self-care. Self-care is where we start taking our power back. That is the tool. That is the most important step for a transformation, is attending to our own needs. And so that's why my program is also called the Life-Changing Power of Prioritization. Is because that's where we start taking our power back. And one thing I've learned, even now, I never seek approval from outside. It's always my own approval. Sometimes, because of this, we may hurt, our loved ones may get hurt, because if they may feel like we are selfish. This is something that I was going to do a video on YouTube on my channel, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. Is how they start guilting you, like, you know what, you don't care about me, you don't do this for me, you care about yourself. Because when we start, this is the next step. When we start, first thing is start prioritizing ourselves, stop people pleasing. When you stop doing that, you are changing, but the people around you are not changing, right? So they're used to the old self of you where you please everybody, and suddenly you're no longer doing that.
Yes.
So
you rock their world too.
Yeah. So now they're like, oh my gosh, something is wrong. You're different. So they sense that something is changed. And the way they express themselves is by using the words like, you're selfish, you don't care about us, you don't do this. So that can create. So now that is another thing that we need to start learning how to manage that. What does that really mean? Again, because people around us are still living in that programmed mindset so until they would not understand you until they start, changing themselves, their own belief systems. But we are not responsible for what others think, others feel. I'm going to repeat that again for the audience. We are not responsible for how other people feel. We are only responsible for how we feel. That's it. When we start understanding that, because everybody has a choice, everybody has free will, they choose how they want to feel. Happiness is a choice. So we always have to make that choice to be in this higher state of vibration, that is happiness, love, gratitude. So I have tools, then I teach tools on how, when you identify this guilt feel, because now you start feeling guilty. Oh my gosh, yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Where am I? Am I going off track? So you start doubting yourself. So that's where you need to get back to what you do, because these things are, it's quite natural. So we start working on dealing with those kind of situations. How do you get back? and how to be on track to manifest. Because manifestation needs a lot of focus, no distractions, a lot of focus, a lot of belief, and a lot of trust.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. I think the beauty probably of what you're doing is not so much anything except, well, everything is valued, but teaching people how to deal with familial reactions, because it is going to cause pain.
Mm-hmm.
You stepping out and taking care of yourself and doing what needs to happen to take care of you and be successful with what you're trying to do is going to cause pain to someone who is used to you not doing that. And,
right.
you know, we've only got about 4 minutes left, and I want you to let people know how to get in touch with you and how to set up an appointment if they want to. And just go ahead and do that if you would. I've got the links up in our WBHM chat, which is also shown on fatemag.net. But what's the best way?
Sure, yeah. So my website is paripatri.com. And you could go on there, and there's like a book a session with me, and that will take you up right to my calendar to book a session. So there's an short application form just to get some details about you. So we use the best time for our call, and you can just pick a time, schedule with me, and you will be directly talking to me. And also I have a free private Facebook group which is called Conscious Leaders Tribe, and that's a free group. So that's for women who are aspiring leaders, executives, corporate women, or people who want to become a conscious leader in their own lives. So that is for them. So please free to join in, request access for that, and I give a lot of free stuff there. And also I wanted to actually mention about a retreat that I'm doing this August 2nd to 4th in Madison, Virginia. The website is cosmicreset.com. I'm really, really excited about this because my father will be there, who's going to lead flute meditations every day. We're going to have shamanic journeys by Wind Daughter. We're going to have speakers from all over the country come and share, their own wisdom and knowledge on consciousness. That's the theme, and connecting with nature. So it's really an amazing thing. You get everything. The ticket actually includes the food. We are doing vegetarian, vegan food. The stay, it's a shared stay, and also the event. Everything is included, and we are doing a couple of specials right now. Two tickets for the price of one, which is absolutely amazing. We're having great sales with that. And also, if you don't have anybody to come with you and you're alone and you want to join us and meet us personally and spend 3 days with me, we are giving away $200 discount, and the code for that is CR200. And so just go ahead and check out cosmicreset.com.
Which is a great site because you have a lot of people who are great who are going to be there. Mm-hmm. And that again is cosmicreset.com and paripatri.com.
Yes.
And we are out of time, Pari. I cannot believe this has gone so quickly. I have enjoyed you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for all the listeners and for this opportunity.
Well, absolutely. And I hope that you'll join me again because there's a lot of stuff that I would like to ask you questions about. I still have so many.
Sure.
But thank you.
Thank you.
And for all of our listeners, I hope you have enjoyed this show. I certainly have. Pari is someone that I have been following here and there, and she has shown up so many times in my life and different people that this show just was meant to happen, and I took so much from it. I hope that you will join us tomorrow night here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting as Denise Pridemore brings you the Paranormal Pride. Wednesday night will be my other show, Paranormal Experienced, which is a lot of fun, and I am looking forward to sharing that with you. On Friday night, we are going to have Paraversal Universe. That is a great show. It will be more than likely a rebroadcast because Kevin and Jennifer are going to be appearing at an event. But there will be a live Ghost Talk Radio, and I actually am going to be Shelley's host on that show. She never has a guest host, her guest, and she rarely has guests. So I am very flattered and very honored to be joining her. And you know what? The next week I will be back here, and it's going to be amazing. It is just, we're going to be talking giants and all kinds of neat things with my guest. And we will see you same cat time, same cat channel. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting and Fate Mag Radio. Y'all have a fantastic night. And you know what? Go out there and be the change you want to see, because you can do that. And you can change the world. Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.